Let's go! Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. We are back. We are back again. We are back. RBN, Saturday Live. How you doing, my friends? How you doing, my friends? Today, we are going to cover a topic I wrote about extensively. Something as a Black American, I talk about this all the time. I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to call out and tell you guys to be aware of the Negro imperialists. Be aware of the Negro imperialists, the people who are willing to join empire in order to avoid their own exploitation, as the great W.B. Du Bois himself has said it. How you guys doing? So many streams, so many podcasts. Seems like this is the only one theme around taking action. We got to lead by example, right? We want to be the change that we want to see. That's why we started RBN. I had my own channel before, and people who watch my old channel knew I was talking about for a very long time. I was like, I want to start this all Black network for a real activist. We know the left is missing out on that. We got RBN chapters that'll come out soon. RBN is 20K. Hold up. You already know I got to throw it up here. RBN to 30K. Let's go. That's my end of the year goal, because we gain about 1,000 subscribers a month. So I think we can get 30K. That's us exceeding expectations, which I'm a goal-oriented person. So I think I'm down for a challenge. Big shout out to my friend, my family here. Much love to you too. What's up, comrades? Big shout out to my man Azura. Make sure you guys take care of yourself. Love your mind. Love your body. Let's continue this intellectual pursuit. That's the best thing about having a channel, is the amount of people I can talk to, and having this community that is educated. Because you guys see the title, and I already see people dropping bombs in the chat, just because you guys see what I'm talking about. What is the United States doing in Africa? E. Walker says, AFRICOM, U.S. military imperialist occupation of Africa. Spoiler alert! Spoiler, Walker, spoilers. U.S. is claiming Russia's and China's presence in Africa is threatening to U.S. interests. Spoiler alert! We're getting there. We're going to get there soon. I got a video I want to show you guys to start off with. We're also going to talk about the study I saw. Maybe I might get in trouble here, but as an anti-capitalist, I got to remind you guys, I have a different view of society in general. Like, I see like people being subscribed massive amount of antidepressants, pills to cope with this society, and I see the United States mental health field as it's a field that is designed to apologize for capitalism. I'm sorry to say, and that's not to delegitimize any like mental health problems that you guys are going through. It's legitimate, and your struggles are legitimate. I'm telling you guys, they are diagnosing it wrong. We live in a broken society, and it's breaking people's brain. And there's a study that I was just skimming through that kind of proves me right. That's another story we're gonna get to later today. Main topic gonna be U.S. what the U.S. is doing in Africa. We got Black people climbing a ladder in the military-industrial complex, and it seems like their main objective is to carve up our motherland. Ain't that some shit? Tulsi Gabbard, who claimed to be anti-war, Tulsi Gabbard, who claims to be anti-imperialist, she was in Africa on deployment. She's like, yeah, we're down in Africa imposing U.S. hegemon. She's not good. Like Earl says, as usual, for occupation, destabilization, and theft. Hello, my friends. Hello, Dee, my good friend. Yeah, we like to keep it nice and relaxed over here. Thank you for the 20K. Let's keep going. RBN 30K. Let's make it happen. Let's put the banner for what we're going to talk about. The U.S. imperialists in Africa. We played this video on Nick and CJ, but I love the edit that was done to this one. So let's start with this video, and you guys see why I despise these motherfuckers. Like I have Ukraine Twitter is like furious with me right now. Oh man, I posted clips from our coverage of Ukraine from this last week on Twitter. They are not happy, but my Zelensky video is going pretty viral, so that's pretty dope. And they're not handling it well because I call out Zelensky as the corrupt tyrant that he is. And people keep pretending that I somehow have skin in the game from Russia. I don't. I don't care about Russia. I don't care. I'm fighting for the liberation of my people. And I know my enemy. So I'm rooting against the West. I'm rooting against the West. They are taking our resources and using it to expand NATO. They are taking our resources, our labor value, our tax dollars, and they use that for an imperial war that is used to kill Black and brown people overseas. So I know who my enemy is. I won't allow them to matador me to someone else. I know exactly who we need to be challenging. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. And this video gets into it. So let's watch this video. And you guys see why my radical ass is despised by the U.S. imperialists, right? Check this out.
This region is so rich in resources. It's off the charts rich. And they have a lot to be proud of. And our competitors and adversaries also know how rich in the resources that this region is. 60% of the world's lithium is in the region. You have heavy crude, you have light sweet crude, you have rare earth elements, you have the Amazon, which is called the lungs of the world. This region is so...
Bro, I tell you, there's nothing else that made my skin crawl more than that woman. Let's see if I can find Michael Parenti. I didn't have to say, but I think this would be good. Talk about how other countries are rich. There we go. Or my timeline is always based. I know I can find it real quick. Let's watch this Michael Parenti video. Like that, yeah, that gave me chills. Like that's evil ass shit, man. I'm gonna show you guys the true face of evil. I'm gonna show you guys the true axis of evil. That we just getting started. That lady was one of them. Just the audacity of American, just to be, well, I should say the caucasity, because it's something that Europe, they've been doing for a very long time. Imperial Japan, they dabbled in it as well. Where they just look at other countries' resources like, damn, this is amazing, isn't it? Damn. If we can believe it and we can achieve it, those resources could be ours. So let's get into Michael Parenti. I think Didi will appreciate that, right? Let's get into that.
But that expropriation of the third world has been going on for 400 years, brings us to another revelation, namely that the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Most countries are rich. The Philippines are rich. Brazil is rich. Mexico is rich. Chile is rich. Only the people are poor. But there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. There's been billions for 400 years. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the flax, the hemp, the cocoa, the rum, the tin, the copper, the iron, the rubber, the bauxite, the slaves, and the cheap labor. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped, they're overexploited.
I'm telling you, Uganda better watch out. Uganda better watch out. They got some gold reserves that were just found. Yellow Parenti, the best Parenti. Big shout out to Didi as well. Beige Parenti. That's why I prefer Michael Parenti over Noam Chomsky, right? Most people quote Noam Chomsky, but Michael Parenti is where it's at. He wasn't afraid to call out the anti-communist wave in academia in the West for what it was. Even Chomsky had a lot of anti-communists in him. So now you guys see why what my focus is, calling out the West that steals and extracts the resources from Africa. That is in South America. This is the full spectrum dominance that NATO is looking to establish. Why do you think the NATO leaders are demanding EU states and European allies to starve their citizens to maintain this liberal world order, as they said themselves, which is the imperial domination of otherwise colonized people? And what's incredible is the fact that you have our country that was able to take Black people and have them be the heads in charge of exploiting their own people. Maybe I'll go in a little bit out of order, but I'm gonna show you guys this video because we got another one of the insane imperialists saying the quiet part out loud. This is Laura Ingraham and this CIA head guy, James Woosley. I'll let the video speak for itself. Let's fix the audio here. And this is just another example of the United States and their imperialist goons admitting they just saying the quiet part out loud. And people wondering why I have the ideology that I do of US bad. Everything the liberals claim they preach for, the belief in democracy, the sovereignty of states, I'm calling them out. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Watch this video.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably, but it was for the good of the system in order to avoid the communists from.
Ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably, but it was for the good of the system in order to avoid the communists from taking over. For example, in Europe, in 47, 48, 49, the Greeks and the Italians, we
don't do that now, though. We don't mess around other people's elections, Joe.
Only for a very good cause.
Can you do that? Do a Vine video on a former CIA director.
In Europe, in 47, 48, 49, the Greeks and the Italians, we
don't do that now, though. We don't mess around other people's elections, Joe.
Only for a very good cause.
Can you do that? Do a Vine video on a former CIA director.
Only for a very good cause in the interest of democracy.
All right, thanks for being here. It's always great to see you.
What the fuck? What kind of evil villain is that? Yeah, sorry. I think the audio on that was a little bit low on the video. No, I have my audio maxed out, but I think the video was just a little bit quiet. But that dude's a Dr. Evil level villain. Man. So sorry the audio was low on there. But that dude, he pretty much admitting saying the United States meddles and we have got involved in elections when Laura Ingraham essentially just straight out called him out for it. And then she said, do we still get involved in other people's elections? Which we all know is a goddamn fact. Just look at Venezuela, for example. Look at Bolivia. Look at Honduras, Nicaragua, which you had CIA operations on the ground there. Like, and then they're like, no. He did this fucking, that's the shit that evil villains do. The motherfuckers out here in real life, guys. Like, we got real Dr. Evils. Hope you guys can hear. I'm sorry that the audio might have been a little bit quiet on that video. So let's see if I can find, I think this quote from W.B. Du Bois will make this segment go great. So I'm gonna find this Negro imperialist quote that I often use. Maybe we should do a track check, right? Yeah, look at Pakistan. Like, we can go all day. I want to find that map and graph that shows the amount of elections the CIA got involved with. They're very open about how what they do, right? And they're still doing it. Like the CIA has 20,000 employees on the books. Now, not even the agents and people they keep off the record. Not the media plans, not the deep undercover people, just 20,000 people chilling on the CIA. And people think they're not doing anything. Like whenever Marxists, whenever we call out the CIA for what they are, people are like, oh my God, you guys are pushing conspiracy theories. Like, no, they out here, man. They making moves. They was in Ukraine. I always gotta share this because people pretending that I'm saying new shit. People pretend I'm saying new stuff. Look at Ukraine. Look at this. The CIA may be breeding Nazi terror in Ukraine. The CIA has been secretly training anti-Russian groups in Ukraine since 2015. These are the same Nazi organizations that was overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine. So this is another example of we are everything that we demonize our enemies as. You want to call Putin enemy of democracy, China the enemy of democracy. We are the biggest threat. We see these fucking villains. And the establishment made an adjustment. Because in order to continue the imperialism in a new age, they became woke, well, in a sense. And in fact, they're gonna have the people that come from the community that they destroy spearhead the efforts. Isn't that interesting? It's the same way you have our leaders preached about ending militarism. MLK was famous about it. Fred Hampton, famous about it. Malcolm X. So these people always called out endless war. And we went from that, and now we have the Negro imperialists, the Barack Obamas, for example. And the same liberal class that they pretend that MLK is on their side, they govern like the class that MLK despised, that Malcolm X despised. We've been hijacked by the Negro imperialists. And W.B. Du Bois, I found a quote, and I love sharing this with you guys because he hit the nail on top of the head of something that we have to call out as a Black community. A lot of these imperialists, these Negroes, capitalists, and capitalist imperialists, right? Kamala Harris, like one of the best examples. Eric Adams does it all the time, where he said, "Well, the media is picking on me because I'm Black, right?" And they use that to attack any member of the white working class that will call them out. So I'm like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. I see your game. So as a Black leftist and Black Marxist, I'm gonna take it upon myself to call out the Black imperialists, which W.B. Du Bois warned us about. Which John Lewis is one of them. Now, he's not the hero. A lot of people, but that was another thing that people got pissed when I was saying that shit. Like, fuck him, because he helped Barack Obama destroy Libya. You guys know that the hero John Lewis, he voted with Democrats and Republicans to grant the president unlimited executive authority on the use of war, which he used to destroy Libya, which John Lewis was all for. W.B. Du Bois warned us about brothers like John Lewis and Jim Clyburn, Hakeem Jeffries, Barack Obama, and the person I'm about to share with you right now. Also, our notorious Vice President Kamala Harris, soon to be probably president. Boy, Kamala Harris. Boy, Joe Biden got COVID. You know her heart jumped when Biden said he had cancer. But this is what W.B. Du Bois wrote. A class structure began to arise within the Negro group, which produced haves and have-nots, intended to encourage more successful Negroes to join the forces of monopoly and exploitation and help victimize their own classes and any other lower classes that was possible. To remedy the situation, Negroes still regarded their first step towards emancipation as being political power. Political power. Now we got our first ever black military 4-star general. This is a K-Hive account. The CIA op, because there's no way these people are real. Because we all know, I reported on this before, Kamala Harris, black people hated her. When she dropped out, she only had 1% black support. K-Hive is literally just a bunch of white people pretending to be black that support Kamala, right? So this came from like K-Hive. And he's like, in Slave King, we finally got our Negro imperialists. Look at this. President Biden nominated Michael Langley to become the Marines' first black 4-star general in 246 years. He will lead U.S. military forces in Africa. What? And then you see how K-Hive and these black liberals, the black imperialists, the Negro imperialists, they think that he's celebrating this like this is a good thing. You see the fist up? Hell yeah. We took over the imperialist system. We get to exploit people now. You guys see this insanity that comes from these black capitalists? That, and if you're a black leftist or Marxist and you watch this too, unfortunately, it's upon us to call these motherfuckers out. Because this is establishment. They deploy these people. And they hide behind this bullshit version of identity politics that only hurts the real motherfuckers that talk about the unifying aspects of identity politics. But that's been completely erased because people like Michael Langley, who got U.S. military forces in Africa, and everyone was calling out. Yeah, that was the first reaction of anyone who's sane. What the fuck are we even doing in Africa? And you guys wonder why I don't have Putin derangement syndrome? It's not. Look at Africa. There wasn't no Russian imperialist flags. Do you got not one goddamn one? But this is what the United States continue to do in Africa, which is this is the famous Jimmy quote. If it was this K-Hive, if it was 1860s. K-Hive would be bragging about the first transgendered slave owner. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. The K-Hive, Jim Clyburn, Eric Adams, Michael Langley, Lloyd Austin, all these motherfuckers, man. You guys see this complex that has developed? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Obama joined Africa as minority owner and advisor. It was announced about a year or so ago. And the reason I react that way, because when I read that comment, I do remember that. It was one of the things I would delete out of my brain. Oh, Jesus Christ. Biden supported disorder. Yep. All these Negroes that support Joe Biden, they are imperialists. They are an extremely important instrument of white supremacy. An extremely important instrument. They're the one that say, hey guys, anything you're saying about Joe Biden is wrong. Joe Biden is a great guy. We're talking about Jim Clyburn now. And Jim Clyburn was just honored at the NAACP and gave the highest esteem award that they give out. The same award that was given out to MLK. They give it to people like Jim Clyburn that has destroyed the black community in his area. And South Carolina is the poorest state in the nation. Who you guys think is among the poorest in that country? It's in Jim Clyburn's district. A lot of black people with no health care because he takes the most health care donations out of Big Pharma. And now you got an NAACP that is praising him and giving him an award now. This is crazy. The NAACP has been sold out. The same way Black Lives Matter sold out, just like that. Taken over by the Democratic Party, cheering on Jim Crow Joe. Took millions of dollars stolen from the grassroots and they bought mansions out of it. It's unbelievable. So let's get into what they're doing, what the United States have done in Africa. I appreciate all the great support. No, that's my next story. I'll cover the chemical imbalances next. That'll be the next story. So yeah, we're 25 minutes in. So let's get into the NATO in Africa to answer the question: what is the United States doing in Africa? What is the Western imperialist game plan for Africa? The answer may surprise you. Of course not. Do you guys know why we oppose NATO? Why unapologetically people ask the question, why are you questioning the Ukraine narrative? Are you opposing something? Like, no, I told you I don't give a fuck about Russia. I don't give a fuck. I know there's some of you guys that do. They got a lot of great ideas, right? Sometimes. But I don't give a fuck. It's about opposing NATO. At imperialism as the highest form of capitalism, as Lenin described. And there is no higher form of imperialism and capitalism than NATO. You cannot be on the left and be supportive of NATO, which it means Bernie Sanders, AOC, the Squad, Pramila Jayapal, Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, these people, they are not left-wing by any stretch of the imagination because they voted to expand NATO. And let me explain to you guys NATO and its relationship with Africa and NATO as a structure to maintain colonial power and white supremacy. Those written by our friends at the Black Agenda Report. You guys know I had Margaret Kimberly on. We discussed this in great detail as well. She always does great work, and we got to have her back on. So here's the story. Let me count. I probably got to zoom out a little bit. There it is. NATO and Africa, a relationship of colonial violence and structural white supremacy. So do y'all see this connection of the United States? And I'm gonna show you guys this article that pretty much highlights U.S. officials talking about this strategy of how they must counter China no matter what. And you have Africa and the African countries that is flexing their sovereignty by going to contracts and financial relationships with China, which they have the right to do. And they are smart. They understand what's best for their people. But white supremacy tells the United States that Africa is, obviously because they see a lot of these black countries as being filled with dummies and inferior people, especially, you guys know the Aryan line, right? The white supremacist line. They believe that Asian people, Chinese people, are smarter than black people. That's the old school Aryan philosophy. This is what a lot of neo-Nazis believe, where they have like this hierarchy, and Asians are closer to them than they see to be closer to black people, right? So they view Asians and Chinese people as being smarter than black people. So this is based on this old trope that the smarter Chinese people would trick the dumb black African. You guys see how it's insulting to Africa to imply that there's Chinese imperialism there, because African countries realize that their relationship with China is much better than this nonsense with NATO. You guys understand that? So let's dive into this article. This is a map of French military bases in Africa. Once again, if you look at colonial Africa, you're not going to see one goddamn, you're not going to see no Russian flags there. At least not that I know of. I never heard of it. Right? Just doing a quick chat check. Make sure you guys leave any super chats if you guys want anything I must address. Oh, yeah, I saw this comment just now. I always got a dig on Elon Musk. We get back to the article. Elon Musk got his start from his parents who owned an emerald mine in, at the time, apartheid Africa, who then bought his way into Tesla and being subsidized by us, the taxpayers of the United States. Just like I said with George Soros, like Elon Musk is just another billionaire to oppose, right? And that's why at RBN we wasn't having it when people were trying to have this whole, oh my God, Elon Musk buying Twitter, Elon Musk is going to fight against censorship, the establishment hate Elon Musk. The implication that the establishment hates Elon Musk is unbelievably ridiculous. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Russia has, I believe, 2 military bases. We have at least 800. I think China has 2, right? Someone fact check me on that. I think China only has 2. Let me do one more check. Nick, my apologies. The you do a show on full spectrum dominance and how all U.S. empire agenda is to maintain dominance over resources, Africa and the global South. Yeah, that's a theme we just cover all the time. And if you want a show that covers that concept, you can watch the show I did with Margaret Kimberly. Because Margaret Kimberly from the Black Agenda Report is amazing. I don't know which one this is, but we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep it going. Thank you for this great comment, Diane. Nick, I am a 63-year-old grandmother who comes from a family of activists. Let's go. Let's go. I love what you and Sabby are doing. Believe me, my grandkids are being told the truth. I wish other boomers are listening. Appreciate you, Diane. Much love to anyone that we inspire in our RBN community. And our CJ, we talk about this all the time. Like, if you actually look at our age brackets for the people who watch our show, we have a very diverse show. There are a lot of people who are carried, like the Twitch streamers, they're carried by the youth, the Gen Z people. If you look at our audience, it's literally spread out among Gen Z, millennials, boomers, Gen X. So yeah, we love our community. I love it here. So let's see any other ones. That's a great comment. Really get the blood going. Well, look at it like this. The USA is stealing the resources of other countries because Americans don't want to spend more than $20 on a toaster. I don't know. Maybe someone can debate me on this, but I honestly believe, I think the United States working class would be better off without U.S. imperialism. I think U.S. imperialism is hurting the working class, especially with the military poisoning our community. The Nazis poisoning our community. That's just what I believe. So I'm not even one of the people that believe that we're making a sacrifice by fighting U.S. imperialism. I think by getting our resource management under control, seizing the means of production, and destroying the U.S. empire, we will actually be in a better position, not only as the global working class, but as an American working class as well. The working class did not benefit from imperialism. Yep, it's only enriching their complex. The people who are willing to sell out their communities. The Lloyd Austins, for example, the Barack Obamas, the weapon defense contractors and their hawks. It helps them out, but I don't think it's helping us out. And I would love to hear the argument otherwise. At least not me. Like if it helps you, if it helps you out, that means you're part of the white bourgeoisie America that we're opposing here, right? Anyway, let's get back to the article. I'll get back to some comments later. Always great reading comments from you guys, super chats or not. Let's go on to the article. NATO and Africa, relationship with colonial violence and structural white supremacy. Considering the public media attention and concern about the possible expansion of NATO, it is worth reminding people that NATO's bloody history in Africa. NATO was founded in 1949 after World War II at a time when African countries were still under the yoke of colonialism. In fact, most of the original founders of NATO have been Africa's principal colonizers, such as the UK, France, Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and the US, as lead NATO organizer and dormant partner. The Nazis never was defeated. That ideology was never defeated. NATO and the West pretty much took it over, right? And they were like, we're gonna oppose the imperialist dominance that the Nazis wanted. And white people are okay with it because it wasn't in their countries. They're loyal to their own. The organization was established as a collective defense against the Soviet Union, with the requirement, Article 5, that any attack on one is considered an attack on all. therefore requiring a collective response. If anyone needed that protection, it was the global working class in light of this new U.S. hegemonic power that declared what they called a Cold War, which was really a global class war against the poor working class that was rebelling against the capitalist model where they control all the means of production and they had nonstop imperialist control. So let's continue with this article. Since NATO was founded with the purported purpose of halting possible Soviet aggression and stopping the spread of communism, which is why if you are an unapologetic socialist or communist, it does not make sense for you to be on this NATO bandwagon. This is our enemy. This is why you see people like Bosch, who they are pro-NATO. It's not accurate to say we are left infighting with him. He is an enemy the same way Rush Limbaugh was our enemy. They got the same foreign policy. They had the same ideology of U.S. capitalist dominance through NATO. Bosch Limbaugh, as we like to call him. Since then, NATO, I'll skip ahead a little bit. So they wanted to stop the spread of communism, and what seemed to follow that after the collapse of the USSR, there will be no longer a need for NATO. Since then, after the collapse of the USSR, NATO has expanded from founding 12 to at present 30 member states, many of whom are Eastern European countries, formerly Soviet republics, and Warsaw Pact allies. Today, NATO has become a huge axle in the will of the military-industrial complex controlled by U.S. empire for the purpose of full-spectrum dominance, as we mentioned earlier. So this is the full-spectrum dominance coverage that you're looking for, right? Colonial bases. I think this is what we want to get into. Colonial Africa as NATO bases. Walter Rodney accurately describes the early foundation of colonial Africa's relationship with NATO, which continues today, as he described how Europe underdeveloped Africa. He went on to say, needless to say, in the 1950s, when most Africans were still colonial subjects, they had absolutely no control over the utilization of their soil for militaristic ends. Virtually the whole of North Africa was turned into a sphere of operations for NATO, with bases aimed at Soviet Union. There could have easily developed a nuclear war without African people having any knowledge of the matter. The colonial powers actually held military conferences in African cities like Dakar and Nairobi in the early 1950s, inviting the whites of South Africa, the apartheids, and Rhodesia and the government of the USA. Time and time again, the evidence points to the cynical use of Africa to buttress capitalism economically and militarily, and therefore, in effect, forcing Africa to contribute to its own exploitation. Now, Portugal is a great example of this as well, and they get into this as an example. You have Portugal, one of the original members of NATO. Portugal will never be able to launch. They go on to explain Portugal will never be able to launch 3 colonial wars in Africa without the help of NATO, the weapons of NATO, and planes of NATO, and the bombs, and it will be impossible for them. They went on to explain how Britain and Portugal and Spain teamed up and developed strategies to expand their neocolonialism in Africa. And you had AFRICOM, which the U.S. is still pushing now. You got African forces. So U.S. in Africa right now to push U.S. hegemony and to fight against Chinese influence, even to the point where you have African states, in the article I'm about to cover here soon, like, hey, the United States need to relax and allow us to make our own decisions. This article also going to what we already know, the U.S. and NATO role in the destruction of Libya in 2011. They say it was an important highlight because it offers some important lessons. First, U.S. imperialism and Western lackeys do not accept any country that decides to be an independent force outside of its sphere of influence. Meanwhile, the West wants us to focus and say Chinese imperialism is hurting Africa. But you see how China negotiates and builds while the West points the barrel of a gun at African countries and use the threat of destruction to get them to bow to Western hegemony. Secondly, it demonstrates how NATO can work hand in hand with other U.S. Western dominated world structures like the UN. And that's the no-fly zone that they're going to continue. So yeah, you guys see, I think that's this article is very extensive, going over NATO, AFRICOM, and their strategies, which still continues to this day with U.S. military forces in Africa. The United States get involved in Somalia. You guys remember this video? And we've played this before, but this is Ilhan Omar. This is Ilhan Omar being booed. Check this out.
Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, please. No, please. Okay. Wait, hey, wait, hey, wait, wait. Wait, hey.
So you guys get the point. And I saw some liberals that was saying they were trying to smear those Somalians. Where I saw on Twitter where it was like, well, a reason why Ilhan lost support of some Somalian people in her community was because they don't like the fact that she support LGBTQ. And I was like, man, bro, she was openly supportive beforehand, and they supported her. The reason why they turned against Ilhan Omar is because Ilhan Omar supports U.S. intervention in Somalia and supports the U.S. Puppet leader in Somalia. She supported the ouster of the former Somalian president by U.S. imperialism. Just another example of how the progressives are imperialists. They're siding with the imperialist machine. That's why Ilhan Omar voted to expand NATO. She knows what she's doing. She's part of the black Negro imperialist class, as I explained. You guys see how they always join with the empire? Ilhan Omar joined with the empire, selling out her own community. Yeah, she got booed bad, guys. So Ilhan Omar and even the progressives of the Democratic Party are imperialists, just like Barack Obama, Jim Clyburn. It's going to be the same thing. This is the story of people like Jim Clyburn, another Negro imperialist. You got to see his role. The same way his role was to carry Biden over the finish line and allow him to defeat Bernie Sanders. He's been the biggest PR puppet of Joe Biden. Jim Clyburn, his number one concern is not Black Americans. His number one concern is fucking licking the boots of Joe Biden and the white liberal establishment. He talked about what Biden has done for Black voters. And this is kind of why I'm covering this. I'm going to skip down to the third paragraph. Clyburn, one of the most corrupt members in Congress. Let me see if I can find this. I think I should share this first. Clyburn. I think I can't type. Clyburn. Here it is. I can find receipts like these all day. Maybe I should have shown more receipts, but I think this is enough to show you guys what kind of piece of shit Jim Clyburn is. Oh wait, I think I fucking fixed this. Let me refresh. You see this? Clyburn has taken more than 1 million in pharma money in a decade, far surpassing peers. Jim Clyburn is the biggest big pharma simp in Congress, and Black Americans have the worst health outcomes in the country. We have the highest percentage of medical debt is owed by Black Americans. And you guys think this is a coincidence? His state is one of the poorest states because he sold out his own people. But despite that, he's going to receive the NAACP's highest honor. What? What the fuck? The NAACP is too far gone. Sold out, corrupt, garbage. Look at the people, MLK, Thurgood Marshall, Rosa Parks. Well, I guess it already been tainted because it had Oprah Winfrey and John Lewis. But you guys see the audacity of this? To have Martin Luther King in the same breath as John fucking Lewis, the slave auctioneer, the one who destroyed Libya, Oprah Winfrey, the billionaire, Jim Clyburn. These people are in the same league with Martin Luther King, according to NAACP. Do you guys see what these Negro capitalists and imperialists are doing to us? You see how they muddying the waters what it means to be an ally to our community? Why is he getting the highest honor for doing jack shit? In fact, no, I wouldn't say jack shit. It's a negative impact to our community. Beware the Negro imperialists. Meanwhile, K-Hive is all about Slave Queen or Slave King. Let's go back to this is the original K-Hive tweet. And you see the rise of the Negro imperialists, the first Black four-star general. Let me tell you guys a story about the first Black attorney general as well, Eric Holder, who Barack Obama appointed. And then Wall Street was caught illegally foreclosing on Black homes, forging documents, using straight fraud to steal wealth from Black and poor working class people who did not have the lawyers and the power to fight against it. And then Eric Holder, despite the fact that these Wall Street goons were found guilty, he sided with the Wall Street bank and gave them immunity as they tanked our wealth. And then they gave them a bailout worth billions of dollars. The biggest heist of not only the working class, but the Black working class. That was done by the Black president and his Black appointee, the first Black attorney general. Do you guys see how the neoliberal class, the Democrat Party, is the number one enemy of our community? Which is why people who have channels, the white saviors, and they keep presenting the Democrat Party as a lesser evil. They have bases and they are pillaging Africa. These imperialists like Vice President Kamala Harris endorsed and implemented civil asset forfeiture and prison slave labor. These people are enemies of us, not the lesser of two evils that we should infiltrate and reform. Do you guys see how a lot of white saviors are giving us purposely bad advice? You guys know what I'm talking about. They advocate reform within a party that is trying to kill us. They're not trying to kill Sam Cedar. They're not trying to kill Voss. They're not trying to kill David Pacman. They're killing us. They pillaged in Africa, our brothers and sisters across the seas, destroying Haiti, sanctioning and destroying Cuba. This is NATO as a white supremacist organization. All right, man, we almost an hour in. I almost need to I'll go over this last Buy in Africa story here. I gotta speed it up. Damn, I'm gonna run out of time. Let's see if I can. Here it is. Well, I'll quickly go over this. We won't read the whole thing. Let's just change this back to imperialists in Africa, because let's look at how the mainstream media have been reporting on this war. This comes from Bloomberg. U.S. urged to show up more as China courts allies in Africa and Asia. And this is the part where they say, and with the Kenyan envoy, what they saying, he's like, bro, stop fucking playing these games and just help Africa grow with China. And they say nations don't want to be pawned in U.S.-China rivalry. These people, you guys think this is the main thing on Africa's mind? This is what the liberals do. This is what their main focus. Remember the Tucker Carlson op-ed that we covered where he's worried about China taking over Africa, thus the world? This is the main thing that they're worried about. That's where Tucker Carlson and Pete Buttigieg agree. That's where Tucker Carlson and Cenk Uygur will agree. That we must oppose China in Africa. But meanwhile, the Africans, like, for one, China is building here. There's nothing stopping you guys, and this is what a Kenyan person saying in particular. There's nothing stopping you guys from just helping us. But you guys just want domination. And this is one of the quotes from Kenya's ambassador. The U.S. needs to become less reactive to what China is doing and just bring American ingenuity in American companies, American competitiveness. So they're not even this Kenyan person, not even as anti-American as I am. If we're going to be 100, they're just saying, how about we have cooperation instead of endless U.S. imperialist domination? We got a super chat. Thank you for $5, AdKid. Nick, thank you for continuing to educate on full spectrum dominance. Please continue doing speaking tour in colleges. Let's get RB into 30K, man. Let's continue to grow because we still a proletariat network. I really wish I can pay my brothers and sisters to do this full time. One of these days, if we keep growing, it's only a matter of time, right? So thank you for the super chat. It's another great way to show support. If you enjoy the show, you also can subscribe to the Patreon. That'd be great. Help us grow at 30K and continue to counter this message and push mutual aid. So let's do that. So I think let's wrap up with I want to read Ben Doran's friend of the show. Multipolarista have been killing it. God damn. He really been killing it over there. He's friend of the show. We just had him on. I gotta have him on. I don't want to bother him too much, but we gotta get him back on. Ben Doran says, in conservative estimates, recent U.S. wars killed 1 million in Iraq, 200,000 in Afghanistan, 400,000 in Syria, 400,000 in Yemen, hundreds of thousands more in economic war. Anyone claiming the 3 decades of U.S. unipolar hegemony brought peace and stability is deranged, son. Sorry, I add that part. Let's see, what does this one say? U.S. empire has killed millions in the past 20 years alone, not to mention millions more killed in Vietnam, Korea, and Indonesia. But there are still delusional pundits pretending in the Pax Americana myth. Guys, that's Voss, by the way. Voss still believe in American exceptionalism and the fact that we are a good, especially compared to like the evil states of China and Russia and the DPRK, right? But this idea of the American exceptionalism is too fair for the adults, as Ben Doran puts it. So I think that's a good way to wrap this segment up. We want to get to some other stories. We're 1 hour in. I think about 1 hour is good. Thank you guys for the support. Let's get RBN 30K. Thank you for the great comment. Kevin, the USA has invaded or fought in 84 of the 193 countries. Our community coming with the facts as always. Thank you, Kevin. Recognized by the UN and militarily involved with 191 of 193. 98%. Whew. Check out what USAID is doing in Africa. Yeah, USAID is an imperialist organization. What it has done in the past, it's used to place CIA assets on the ground, absolutely, in targeted countries under the cover of an NGO to spy and derail sovereignty. God love the RBN community, guys. Great stuff. Really educational. But yeah, USAID is a tool of imperialism. 3 million died in Korea. Yeah, I need to bring some experts on. So we need to do a topic about the Korean War. The Korean War was unbelievably brutal. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable what the West has done to Korea. And then people still demonize the DPRK who just want the West to leave them alone. Then you got the West like, oh my God, the DPRK, they building up nuclear stockpiles. It's like because they motherfucking saw what you did to Gaddafi. The West like, hey, Gaddafi, can you get rid of those nukes? That'd be great if you do, man. That would be great. That would just be awesome if you got rid of those nukes. Then he's like, yeah, let me get rid of the nukes, and then they leave me alone, and they killed his ass, and then they wonder why the DPRK not falling for that shit. So we need to let this stand solidarity with the DPRK because they've been fucking under Western assault. They've been under Western assault. Yeah, the U.S. is, they're still at war with the DPRK. And meanwhile, the same people are like, oh my God, we are protect Ukraine's sovereignty. We believe in sovereignty. No, you guys don't. Or you guys will leave the DPRK alone. Stop lying about them. All right, let's see if we can get to our next story. I think we're going to do the depression story. That's the thing next. Let me reorganize my tabs, get the story started. This will be a great one to wrap up with because this is just more kind of theory. Let's change it to this. Actually, let's do one more shout out to RBN to 30K. So let's do that. Let's subscribe, like, and share if you're enjoying this. We're gonna do our coverage of mental health in this country and what is actually going on. Are we really sick? Are our brains broken? Let's find out. So like, share, and subscribe. Let's go. Depression, capitalism. Oh Jesus. Yeah, like or comments. All right, let's move on to the story. So there's I remember I had a debate with Destiny, and we were debating whether the U.S. is a fascist country or not. He walked right into my trap when he was trying to pretend that Russia is a fascist country for imposing this hegemon. And my reaction to that was very simple. Like, look at the Monroe Doctrine. Look at what our country has done. So once I exposed that our country has the same evil empire goals as any fascist country that you can point out, the next point was to highlight the despair in our country, because this is one of the characteristics of a dying empire, is the overextension of your empire while leaving your people to die and starve. So when you had the height of the Roman Empire, you look at the history, all the height of the empires, the height of the French Empire, the height of the UK dynasty, you have this amazing empire where military people are being enriched. You got the ruling class that are being enriched. Generals are achieving glory. But while this has happened, the people are suffering. People are living life of squalor. And capitalist propaganda has convinced people that their failures, them not living a life of extravagance, is their fault. So if you don't live in a giant house, if you're not eating the best meals, if you don't have the highest and latest technology, it's your fault. And it's because your job is invaluable, and because you suck and you deserve the poverty that you live. Now imagine living in a country where you have no health care. Imagine living in a country where you have no health care. Your rent is sky high. You're barely struggling to live. And not only that, you're working and I'm talking about people I know. I'll tell you guys a story of one of my cousins that I housed who would have otherwise been homeless. And this guy would have been homeless. He had 2 fucking jobs. He got no car. Working hard as hell. Getting his ass beat by late-stage capitalism, the cost of living, the exploitation of him as a worker. And it's not just him. It's just friends I see all the time. They work all the goddamn time, 50 hours a week, and they are still poor. And what do you guys think that does to your psyche? And then if they had the audacity to complain about their pay, people are like, well, if you want to get paid more, how about you do a job that's actually valuable? So not only do you work all the damn time, you are told by a capitalist society that your work is invaluable. And then people are wondering why people are depressed all the time. You got people's material needs being shrunken and destroyed. You have this myth of the American exceptionalism that is beat into people's head through Hollywood and capitalist propaganda. You turn on TV and you see a sitcom of these 4 friends. They're all lawyers. They live in the big city. They can travel. They got vacation. They got time. But then when people grow up, they realize, oh shit, life isn't like this. We are just worker ants where our life has no value. We work until we get cancer and we die. They take kids who are extremely creative, extremely active, who they just want to explore and learn and have fun. They put them in these boxes in schools and 8 hours a day, turn them into factory robots. Timmy, he got in trouble today because he couldn't sit fucking still for a 1-hour lecture. He was coloring outside the lines. He was joking around with his friends. I know, like, you guys see my live stream. I don't think you guys think I'm a dumb person, but I wasn't for school. School wasn't for me. That wasn't how I learned. I became a student of history. I became a student of math and politics after I left school. Cause I was like, this is such a restrictive, unbelievably stupid fucking way to learn. And that's just me. I'm a martial artist. I'm a very physical person. I was the kid who liked to be on the monkey bars and shit. I like to run. We like to dance. And that's how I learn. And I learn actively through studying things I have interest with, not through this prison industrial complex emulating soul-sucking society system that we are born into from day one. And then you get a job and they treat you like this fucking factory robot that you were designed to be. You get pulled over by the cop. He treats you like shit because he got to let you know where you stand on the totem pole. And then people are like, why are people depressed? Now, every time I get into this, I get into these people that are obsessed with defending Big Pharma. You guys seen them with COVID. They were fucking vaccine cultists. They are like, and I'm not. If you took the vaccine, that's good. If you pro-vaccine, that's good. I have nothing. I have no stake in the game. But I'm gonna give you guys an example. I said that if you want a high vaccination rate, Big Pharma should pay people to get the vaccine. And I said that if you injured by the vaccine, Big Pharma should pay them. And that's like not even anti-vax. That's me saying, yo, these motherfuckers are making $1,000 per second on this vaccine. How about you pay? How about you pay us to take this vaccine? How about you reimburse anyone that's harmed? Wouldn't that be good policy to have a high vaccination rate if that's what you're into? And then me just saying that had people upset. And then I'm like, why are you upset at me saying Big Pharma should pay people to take vaccines? They are defending their profits? I don't know why people do this thing where they have to defend fucking Big Pharma. Even though we're not even denying the efficacy of their medicine. They're not even me saying that. I'm saying that what you should do if you actually pro-working class instead of imposing mandates that destroy the working class and limits body autonomy and freedom. That makes way less sense instead of just paying people to have the vaccine. And people got mad at me for saying, just suggesting that. Like, what kind of fucking Big Pharma cultists are you leftists turning into? The same thing I learned with like antidepressants, where once again, just having Marxist analysis on the society. We had indigenous people that have been living, that have been happy, that had studies where they were extremely happy. You got people all over the world that had less than us, but they somehow are still happy. But our country somehow we all have broken brains here? And they say, well, this is just a natural occurring thing. It's a natural occurring thing of people's brains just break. You know, you get a chemical imbalance. You know, it just happens. In which I'm sure it happens sometime. Like, all, you know, illnesses are rare, and you can get a bad roll of the dice where you just get a bad brain imbalance, right? But let me guys tell you guys a story of indigenous Hawaiians who was recorded as being one of the happiest people that was ever recorded because they got their work done early. They didn't have this 8 to 12-hour workday. This is the same materialistic culture as the United States, and they will work. And because they live in a hot culture as well, they will get all the work done early, and then they will relax the rest of the day. They had a very socialist way of living with free housing. People were fed. It wasn't this hyper-stressed, individualistic capitalist society. And they had an extremely happy society in general before the U.S. imperialists fucked it up. Right? So why is our society where we have all these toys? You got all these movies, you got these video games, you got all this impressive technology. How are we the ones who have chemical imbalances? That is what they will let us to believe, that somehow our brains are uniquely broken. To me, it was always people's reaction to this system. And I do want to say this. I'm sure, like I mentioned, illnesses are a variant of human genome. So I'm sure people's brains do break occasionally. But how do you get a rampant explosion of mental health cases in like 1 or 2 generations? And then they try to explain this by science. And so before I'm gonna read the headline, I know I'm ranting here because I wanted to preface the story, right? Because this is the study. Study says depression not caused by chemical imbalances, raising questions about antidepressants. This was done by the University of College in London. And science is an ongoing debate. And I do want to say this. I understand this is one study. I understand the people that may disagree with me. And this is why I'm open to debate. Because I'm not saying that my word is God here. That science is all about conversations. You have your thesis, you have your study. Let's weigh against your thesis and study. I truly believe this. So I'm speaking from the perspective of the study and from what I've seen in my personal life. Like this whole chemical imbalance thing as a massive epidemic never makes sense to me. Because I see people live and struggle and die. I see people going through this insane system that is breaking people. I was talking to my friend. I'm trying not to give these people up too much, but he was just telling me like, man, no matter how hard I work, man, I can't get like that was like one of the most emotional conversations we had. Where he was like, no matter what I do, man, I can't get ahead. I can't get ahead, man. I feel like I'm a failure. That's what our system tells us. And think about it on like if you are a society, if you are a capitalist society, right? You have a vested interest in order to get people to shut the fuck up about complaining about society and become productive workers. So also think about it from that perspective. The establishment has a vested interest in pushing these things so people don't go look around and realize something is wrong with our society. Maybe we shouldn't fucking work 12 hours a day, commute 1 to 2 hours, then you gotta eat, and then you got like 3 hours to yourself, and then you go back to work. Instead of us just talking about there's something wrong with your brain. Oh, the kid is crazy. There's something wrong with you, right? How about we have a conversation about what the society is doing, which capitalists don't want to do, because that may lead you to other uncomfortable ideologies they don't want you to explore. So let's read a little bit of this article here. Because people starting to see, like, ever since this antidepressant wave, like, this have been a very short-term thing. Like, that's what a lot of people don't get. Like, how long has it been going? A generation or two? A few generations? We don't know the long term. Do we really know the long term? Like, societal effects of this? Millions of Americans take antidepressants, but a new study suggests the theory underpinning their use may be entirely wrong. The University of College London raises doubts that chemical imbalances in the brain is responsible for depression. A major review of previous studies on the serotonin's role in depression, just published in a journal of molecular psychiatry, concluded that serotonin levels, the target of antidepressant, is not responsible for depression. The researchers found no support for the hypothesis that depression is caused by lower serotonin activity or concentrations. They found stronger evidence that stressful life events can lead to depression. Once again, this is just very interesting science, right? So, like, imagine if you're going homeless, like some people, like the people I'm describing to you. Imagine if you're like my other brother, who works so much he can never see his kid, and they're still broke. Do you think that would lead to depression? Once again, I would say, because this study is very authoritative here, right? I would say personally, there are definitely people who have something physically wrong, right? With probably serotonin production. I read the study. This is probably my personal thought on this. There are some people that have that. Your struggle is legitimate if you're one of the people that are watching this. But the amount is overstated. Like, it's rare just to be broken, just naturally broken. I think people go through traumatic events, as this study is saying. They go through poverty. They go through crushing just quality of life in America. No health care. People living paycheck to paycheck, one bill away. Like, this is the long-term, over and over again, trauma hitting us over and over again that's causing millions of Americans the need to take antidepressants, right? Because some people get mad when they say, they're like, oh, well, you're saying antidepressants doesn't work? Well, I'm like, I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying that maybe that the cause of that should not be ignored, because antidepressants are preventing that depression and numbing the pain instead of addressing the root problem. Now, I want to share this clip. Then this is Tom Cruise, and this actually aged very well. And I do want to preface this. I explained this many times. I am not I'm so far removed from celebrity culture that I actually have no opinion on these people. Like, I literally don't pay attention to celebrity culture at all. Even to the point where I don't even have negative opinions on people like Tom Cruise or Will Smith or whatever. That's how out of the game I am. But, so this is, hopefully you guys can ignore your bias on Tom Cruise, but this is him talking about Ritalin and how we over describe Ritalin and antidepressants to people, which at the time they used this to paint him as crazy. But now this is aged great. This is aged great. So let's watch this video, and then you guys see what I mean. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. And I think that's a good way to wrap this one.
Here we are today, where I talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people, okay, against their will, of drugging children with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you know what Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?
The difference is this was not against her will, though. But this wasn't against Brooke's will.
Matt, I'm asking you a question.
I understand there's abuse of all of these things.
No, you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do. All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does. That's all it does. You're not getting to the reason why. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer, that these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that so that we don't end up in a brave new world.
Yes, there are abuses. And yes, maybe they've gone too far in certain areas. Maybe there are too many kids on Ritalin. Maybe electric shock
Too many kids on Ritalin. Matt,
I'm just saying, but aren't there
Matt,
examples where it works?
Matt, you don't even, you're glib. You don't even know what Ritalin is. If you start talking about chemical imbalance, you have to evaluate and read the research papers on how they came up with these theories, Matt. Okay? That's what I've done. And you go and you say, where's the medical test? Where's the blood test that says how much Ritalin you're supposed to get?
It's very impressive to listen to you because clearly you've done the homework and you know the subject.
And you should. And you should do that also, because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm
really.
not prescribing Ritalin, Tom, and I'm not asking anyone else to do it.
Well,
I'm
you are.
simply
You're saying no.
I know some people who seem to have been helped by it.
But you're saying, but it's like this is a very important issue.
This is a very,
and you know what? And you're here on the Today Show,
right?
And to talk about it in a way of saying, well, isn't it okay, and being reasonable about it when you don't know, and I do. I think that you should be a little bit more responsible in knowing what it is, because you communicate to people.
Listen, no matter what your opinion on Tom Cruise, I don't have one of them, but that was pretty based. Tom Cruise destroyed that guy. And you see how the cable news host, his instinct was to defend the use of these drugs, using Ritalin and Adderall on kids, and in the attempt of getting them to calm down because the kids don't meet the expectation of this capitalist society, and the fact that this society needs productive workers. So if you have a kid that has ADHD, who's extremely hyper, who has unique needs in terms of learning, is it, instead of giving that family the needs they need to address the material needs of that kid, and the time and the care that kid will require so they can learn and thrive, they told them they like, no, you need to get your ass back to work. You don't got time for that kind of shit. Let's give him some drugs so he'll be a good boy and go through our corporate school education system, and he will shut the fuck up. Right? You gotta see how our capitalist society has a vested interest in just numbing this shit down and stopping the creativity and the uniqueness of kids, just so they can be productive workers. Right? I think that's what this is all about. And I think this is it's tied to our toxic society and the people who want to over rely and overcomplicate this issue. They are the people who are patriotic. These are the liberals who they believe in the good of our Western liberal state. So if they have the same critique that I do, where I'm talking about the failures of our society and how they treat people, and how depression is a symptom of the failures of capitalism, they don't want to do that, right? And I see one of the comments, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to attack the parents either. You guys see, I'm aiming for the system, because if you're working all the time, you're not gonna have energy to be that attentive, right? And you got be a good parent to a kid that's bouncing all over the walls and shit. Like, I don't want to put the onus on them, but you see how easy, especially when they get bombarded with science, when you got doctors telling them this is the right thing to do, society telling them the right thing to do, and then they're like, wait, they just like, man, I know your kid giving you hell. I know you take a lot of time and attention that you don't have as a worker. So how about you just give them this and they'll shut the fuck up? I can see why people fall for that, but doesn't that seem like counterproductive for their growth in their development? Our society don't care about that. Our society just want them to shut the fuck up and be productive, right? So I think that's a good way to start this conversation. I would love to hear you guys' feedback on this as well, because this is something I think it's just an interesting conversation. I'm not a scientist. I would love to hear people who have different opinions on mental health, for example. But I think we need to start looking at what our society is doing in this role in terms of breaking people's brain, right? So let's see what you guys think. And then we wrap up here. I'm a strong advocate for recreational drug use for adults. Yes, sir. Well, I don't know. I'll do this mostly just to help maintain my anxiety. I'm a very productive stoner. That's very natural. I mean, I'm not these pharmaceutical drugs that's killing us. And I would say listen to your bike. I tell people that too. If weed isn't good for you, just the same way if alcohol isn't good for you, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm just a very productive. Like I will literally kickbox and train. I don't like working out and training without using recreational drugs. Let's say that. I will wake up at like 4 a.m., smoke a bowl, and I will run. We would have our boxing training at 5 a.m. And then I would go to work at 7 a.m., leave at like 4 a.m., go back home, smoke, and work out again. So I was one of the people that were always highly productive. If it fucks with you, maybe you should listen to your body. That's all I'm gonna say. People need to read Brave New World. Thank you for 199. Not too familiar with that. Yeah, what the fuck, Tom? Let me say this, because Tom Cruise is in a cult. So let's not say he's based. He's a Scientologist. But you guys heard what he said. He sounds pretty goddamn on point there. And I don't think he has the capitalist, the anti-capitalist critique that I have on our mental health system. But regarding Ritalin and the chemicals that we introduced in our kids, I think it was point blank. Once again, not about the person. I'm thinking about the fact that he got it right. I told you, I'm so detached from celebrity culture that I just don't have an opinion on them. Like, that's how out of the game I am. Like, people are like, man, I hate Nicki Minaj, I hate this person. Like I don't care. I don't care enough to have an opinion on Tom Cruise. That's just how I am. I'm more of a foreign policy nerd, right? So, yep, it's all about questioning the authority and what we told. So I will actually love to hear dissenting opinions. I think we should be more open to debate and all this kind of stuff, right? And learning as an intellectual community instead of what, for example, the COVID code did, where they're like, we're gonna shut down all dialogue. Don't you dare question the narrative on anything. I think I'm not for that. I'm not good with live references, as you guys probably are gonna see here soon. But big shout out to Baba Yaga. Thank you. Big shout out to our friend the show there. So I think once again I went longer than I thought I was gonna go, but I think I did a good job making my argument regarding capitalism and depression and what the United States have done in NATO. So hope you guys enjoyed the back-to-back weekend streams. I think Friday and Saturday is pretty good for me to go solo. We got great guests starting next week. I've been having a lot of great guests in general. Isha, Fiorella Isabel, Ben Dorian. We got a lot of great people coming up too. Ron Pacone should join us on Tuesday. Alex Vitale, the amazing police abolition and police reporter. He's going to be on our show. We're going to talk about police, our police state. So, and everyone give love and support to our brother JB. He has some surgery, going to do the medical stuff. So I'm not sure if he's going to have his show on tomorrow. Just make sure you guys show support to JB, his channel, his GoFundMe. We got to show our support for our disabled brothers and sisters, right? What else do we have? I think that's Nick CJ Monday with Alex Vitale, and then I have Ron Pacone to be joining me on Tuesday. So thank you guys for watching. And make sure you guys support the Patreon, like the stream. And let me put this up one more time. RBN to 30K. So let's do that. That would be great, guys. And we can get some subscribers. So appreciate you guys for watching. This is RBN sign out. I'll see you guys on Monday.